Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
All right, welcome to Off the Radar. Taking a look at some of the stories that we might not normally take a look at or make mention of, if not for this segment. Here's one I definitely would not have made mention of. Very small note to start off with. NFL cancels supplemental draft for second straight year. This is what this segment is perfect for, because I have hosted a show with someone before who tried to get excited about the supplemental draft because everything attached to the NFL is exciting, which I disagree with, because the supplemental draft is not exciting. So for those who have felt like it's kind of a fruitless exercise, the NFL feels the same way. Second year in a row, they're canceling it. The draft was available for players whose eligibility situations had changed after the January declaration for the regular draft. Most recently in 2019, the Cardinals made the only pick, and sometimes picks aren't even made. So it's like if one guy gets picked in the supplemental draft, that's like a big deal. But that was Jalen Thompson, a safety back in 2019. Terrell Pryor, Josh Gordon was a supplemental draft guy as well. So there have been guys who have gone that route, but I mean, not really a whole lot of success stories to speak of. This will be just the third time since 1977 that the NFL will not hold the supplemental draft. 2020, 2021, and 2008, a lack of applicants as well. So no supplemental draft for the second year in a row. There you go with a little NFL note there. Tyler Skaggs, the late Angels pitcher, his family has filed a lawsuit against the Los Angeles Angels organization as well as former employees. Skaggs' family had filed 2 lawsuits against the club and 2 former employees claiming negligence over his drug-related death 2 years ago in Texas when they were set to play the Rangers. I still remember that day like it was yesterday. It was such an odd story that we never see. But they sued. They filed the lawsuit. His widow in Fort Worth. His parents filed one in Los Angeles. Both lawsuits were filed in state courts and do not specify the money being sought. But there had been a deadline coming up that they had to file it by. So, yeah, the Angels are about to get into some serious litigation. Amongst those being sued, the Angels as an organization, former team communications director Garrett Cole, who was the one that told police that he purchased the drugs that ended up killing Tyler Skaggs, and Cole's former boss Tim Mead. And basically it's just saying the Angels were negligent in allowing Cole, who was apparently a well-known long-time opioid abuser, to have access to players, and that Meade failed to properly supervise him. The Angels, of course, are going to fight this as best they can. But, yeah, Tyler Skaggs, dead at 27 just a couple of years ago in South Lake in a hotel room, and now the family looking for some justice. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, that story is so sad. I'm sure they're probably going to get I would, if I'm the Angels,
I would think, yeah. I'm not trying to go to court, brother.
I am not, like, there is no way that even if I was not as responsible as I thought I was, I would want it on the record of me telling you how responsible I am or not responsible I am for one of my employees. Like, there's just nothing. There's just nothing good that can come of that if you're the Angels.
No, nothing. And Kay told investigators that he and Skaggs had worked out an arrangement. Kay would obtain drugs for Skaggs and himself, and Skaggs would pay for him. Skaggs introduced him to a California man who provided the drugs that he and Skaggs regularly snorted opioids together, which is just insane, dude. Like, doing opioids in general is dangerous, but sniffing is just insane. And ESPN actually got a hold of the Venmo transactions alleged to have occurred between the two, showed a series of payments over 2 years ranging from $150 to $600, and just, they're getting down to the weeds of it. But the Angels, that will be interesting. And, yeah, Paul, I think you're probably right. They're probably going to go ahead and settle that one and make sure that it's not an issue. Another lawsuit, 29 more men have accused former Ohio State doctor of sexual abuse in a new lawsuit. Team doctor Richard Strauss has been, kind of like the Nasser for Ohio State that Nasser was for Michigan State. He died back in 2005, but this is all just coming to light now. And the basic gist of it is that Ohio State helped cover up his abuse, and that was the accusation to Michigan State, and so now it's Ohio State. But this one right here, I mean, I mean, just 29 new guys today, and there's all sorts of, very similar to the Nassar stuff, but yeah.
Isn't Michigan football under the same type of deal?
With Bo Schembechler?
Yeah, there's that one too.
And the one about this one that's interesting is that there's a current congressman from Ohio, Jim Jordan, who is an assistant wrestling coach on the team that is reporting all this. And many of them have said, I told Jim Jordan about this. And he's still, of course, you don't have to resign in Congress anymore, but he hasn't, he's still doing his job in Congress, but to whatever degree you can grade people on that anymore. But so that one has a lot of heat on it, and especially because you have a current congressman who's at the center of it. It's just going to get more and more and more light.
So the holier than thou Big Ten fan base.
Yeah.
It's in your backyard. It has been
that's
now,
the three
it's been
biggest
going on for decades.
That's the three biggest schools in your conference.
Yeah.
Yep.
Michigan State,
Wisconsin would be in that conversation
as far as
enrollments.
Yeah, enrollments. Yeah. So you got Michigan State, Michigan, and Ohio State, three of the four biggest.
Yeah.
And the largest enrollment school in the country, maybe even the world, is Ohio State.
An independent investigation in 2019 said that Strauss abused at least 177 men across 16 sports while working at Ohio State from 79 to 97, accused of groping, fondling, prolonged rectal and genital exams, unwanted oral sex, requiring unnecessary nudity during exams, inappropriate comments, etc., etc. The lawsuit is the 23rd that has been filed in regard to Strauss's abuse. So 23 lawsuits regarding this one man.
And that's 29 players. And then there's the Penn State Sandusky story, and they're a part of the Big Ten. Of course, they weren't at the time.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, so this is a story that you might not have heard as much about, but it's very much in that same avenue. But the 29 new men that are claiming this are across baseball, lacrosse, cheerleading, soccer, football, basketball, gymnastics, and fencing.
Jared Bunch is the former Michigan running back. He was a fullback. He might have played with the Giants for maybe a tad. I don't remember if he did it all in the NFL, but big physical running back. He wrote a story on, I think, The Athletic or Yahoo or whatever, one of those tell-all stories about what he dealt with as a running back at Michigan. And it's a big man. And, you don't know. You trust people, and next thing you know, you're in these really weird, bizarre, and sickening situations.
Yeah, and I don't really want this to be the sexual abuse segment, but it's off the radar, and I don't think we're really going to set aside time and segments to really discuss this. So, been kind of one of those weeks. Y'all been seeing the Blackhawks story that is very much in this same vein. A former Chicago Blackhawks player was allegedly sexually assaulted by ex-video coach Bradley Aldrich in 2010 and says that he is still dealing with the long-term effects of the abuse. His former unnamed player opened up about the allegations, saying that every day is a work in progress. When asked about other players who may have been potentially assaulted by Aldrich, the former Blackhawk said, "I would tell them it's very hard to deal with the pain of coming out with what happened, but the minute you come out, the healing begins. It's very uplifting to know how much support I'm getting from the public and other players." And he said he wouldn't know what to do if he was in the same room with Aldrich right now. But this is not just this guy. This is a number of the players that were on this 2010 Stanley Cup championship team, and many of them are saying they told people in management about this, that they went to the person they were supposed to go to and said, hey, this is going on, and yet the Blackhawks organization, like these universities, just...
He's the video coordinator.
He's a video coordinator. Grab anybody in this room to do that job, most likely. I mean, seriously. And yet it just went on, and we're talking about NHL players being sexually abused by this guy or what have you, allegedly abused. It's just, he said he quickly disappeared after the Stanley Cup was awarded in 2010, went to coach high school hockey voluntarily, which the Blackhawks gave him a positive reference letter for, while purportedly knowing he was a sexual predator. And then a second lawsuit filed on May 26. A former player of that high school team alleges in 2013 he was sexually assaulted by Aldrich when he was 16 years old at an end of the season gathering for players where he provided alcohol to the then minor. And I won't get into the details there, but apparently the Blackhawks management group had gotten together to discuss these allegations, and just nothing ever happened. That's just amazing, is it not, with these stories? It's just all these people know, And it's just like, protect the brand, I guess. Hey, we're winning the Stanley Cup. Don't come forward with your personal issues and ruin this right now. Like, I mean, what the hell is going on, dude? Like, every single one of these stories is just people just looking the other way because, oh no, football, or oh no, Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and that's why when the Penn State story and Sandusky came down, and it wasn't the first time college athletics had dealt with that, but because of the publicity and social media and all that, it became, you're like, oh my God, and they just wait for something, it'll happen. Just like Baylor went through their microscope for what seemed like forever, and then now you have LSU, although it doesn't seem like their microscope is as bright, but they are still dealing with some of that. It just doesn't seem like, now it's like people are numb to it, and you never want to be numb to it. And in this case, 11 years after, isn't it 11 years, Paul? Wasn't it 2011 with Sandusky?
Yeah.
We were on our way to Big 12 Media Days when we were listening to some of this stuff? Okay.
Yep, so that's stories that I don't want to be talking about on a weekly basis, but I figure if we're going to mention them, and they're worth mentioning for these victims alone, then this would be the segment to fit that in. So, yeah, definitely some major stories going on at various places across the country. So Garrett Cole, I just want to make mention. Have you been paying attention to what has happened over the last month while all this attention has been on him and Spider Tack?
I know that the Red Sox turned him around this weekend. So
Yes, they did. On Sunday, he threw a 96-mile-per-hour four-seam fastball that had a spin of 2,414 revolutions per minute. It went to the front row of the seats above the green monster left field. Enrique Hernandez swatted that one away. And Garrett Cole had never, until now, given up a first-pitch home run, but he did that on Sunday. That's not to say that shows that he's cheating, but it is something that had never happened before. And so if anything, maybe the mental side's starting to get to him a little bit because he has not pitched well at all. He has got a 4.65 June ERA. It's his worst during a month since he was a Pittsburgh Pirate back in 2017. All his numbers are down, like as far as the spin rate and things like that, which was directly what Spider Tack was attributed to, was not only your grip, but also the spin rate and things like that. So since he's apparently, no longer doing that, it's just been kind of interesting to see how his numbers have started to fluctuate. So maybe it's mental, but there's definitely something to watch with Garrett Cole right now. And this whole baseball pitching substance situation that's going on.
Yeah, well, the Red Sox hitter had a cork bat.
He may very well
look,
have
the Red Sox have a guy named Garrett Richards who, for the first month of the season, couldn't not hit a bat. Then for the second month of the season was unreal, and then the last couple of starts hitting bats again. And so everybody's going to have one or two on their team that okay, that was that.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, some of his velocity and things like that have started to creep back to where they were before the last two outings, which I guess were the last two is when he started, stopping using it entirely, and there was definitely a fluctuation. Now it's not what it was exactly when he was pitching at his very best, but it's getting closer to that. So we'll see here over the next couple months if there isn't something there with that.
No, you're good. Okay, I was curious about how that would bounce back boomerang style against the pitchers that they were able to use all that.
Well, I mean, it's getting frustrating watching some of these interruptions and things like that. By the way, Mariners pitcher Hector Santiago becomes the first to get banned for using a foreign substance on his glove, a 10-game ban, fined by Major League Baseball. 33-year-old is the first player ejected and suspended under the league's new crackdown on pitchers using foreign substances. So he will be the first guy to have to deal with that. And then just in one more note, no NHL tonight. That'll be back tomorrow with the Lightning leading that series 1-0. And also tonight in the NBA, there will be a game as we'll have Bucks and Hawks. Milwaukee leads that series 2-1. That'll be on TNT at 7:30. And I want to end on a positive note because the early stories were just not very fun. Gwen Goldman.
No, it's a great story. I'm glad you brought this up. I saw this. I'm glad you did.
I want to try and end on a positive, especially because, there's not so great stories out there. But Gwen Goldman today at 60, as a young kid who had a dream 60 years ago, was able to fulfill that dream and serve as a Batgirl for the New York Yankees.
What a great organization
jersey on, had her whole thing. She's 70 years old.
No, I think she's older than that.
No, she's 70 years old,
Wow.
and at age 10, 60 years ago, so this has been her dream for 60 years, she was turned away from being a Batgirl because she was a girl, and that's how it was back then. And because of that just was something she was never able to do, and now they've made it right, and she was able to be a Batgirl for the New York Yankees at age 70, not age 10, but she still got to do it, which is pretty cool.
I saw the Zoom call from who's the GM of the Yankees now?
Brian Cashman.
Yeah, and I saw
for a while.
and it was almost like the Brady Bunch opening. Remember how they used to have like boxes, but they kept adding, and I think her daughter is the one who contacted the Yankees again with the letter. And Brian Cashman of the Yankees, they did it right here. That's pretty cool.
Well, more teams should do things like this. They're fun stories. You know,
that lady will never forget it.
Oh, she also threw out the first pitch, and she got to stand up there. I think it was next to Girardi for the national anthem. So she got like the full package.
It would be who's the Aaron Boone.
Yeah, Boone. Sorry.
Aaron Boone's a hell of a player. Yeah. He was a hell of a baseball player.
Yeah, but no,
for
Boone,
one
you're right.
pitch, he was one.
And so that's cool. I mean, I think that's an awesome story. She was loving it. You see pictures of her and all that. So very cool. Good job by the Yankees. You'll hardly ever hear me say that, but that was pretty sweet for that 70-year-old lady, and glad she got to live her dream.
Should have let her hit. She should have been the leadoff hitter. Too.
Yeah,
I mean, she got everything else. That's awesome.
Yep. So
that
there's
Yankees organization.
Listen, right now she couldn't have hurt the Yankees anymore.
Yeah, no
They
kidding.
lost 7 games in a row.
Now, I watched a clip from their game last night, and there was nobody there.
Yeah.
Like it was. I mean, there were some people there, but behind home plate, it was pretty empty. I don't know if there's a reason for that or not. Maybe the team itself, I'm not sure. But there are a few things that are off the radar.
Very good. Very, very nice. Appreciate that. Craig Smoak every Tuesday and Thursday at 4:45. Kendall Rogers, one note. We mentioned Arizona baseball has an opening because their coach is now with LSU, and even Steve Rodriguez's name was brought up as possibly a candidate. Right now, 12 players from Arizona baseball have entered the transfer portal in the last 24 hours.
Oh, jeez Louise.
And says, I'm fairly certain that departures aren't over with in Tucson. 12 players from Arizona baseball in 24 hours gone. At least they've